Hello, everybody. Welcome along to Live at 5, your Rangers news show on the Rangers Rabble Podcast. My name is Martin. I'm your host, and my co host tonight is none other than, do you know who he is? Connor Chalmers himself. Connor, mate, how are you?
I'm all right. Aye. Not hung back in for work, hence the attire.
Looking sharp, Connor, looking sharp.
Aye. Well, I can assure you, I don't generally cut about the house like this. For a start, it's too fucking warm. You see what's happened is when I've went out the door this morning, Martin, I've turned the heating on and I've got to turn it off before I left, so I came back in and this is like a fucking sauna right now.
That's going to cost you a fortune.
Yes, that's going to cost me a pretty penny.
Folks, listen, this is a Rangers news show. But please do get your comments in, get your questions in. Me and Connor will try and answer as many as we can. Just very quickly, we're joined by Spanky, Blue Teddy Bear, Doreen. We're joined by Tim Sharp, Bojang, Janet, Stuart. I mean, the names I can go on and on and on. Beat Bop Boop, the Sniper, JD, everybody. So thank you very much, folks, for tuning in. Please make sure that you hit that like button and you hit that subscribe button. It really does help the channel out. And of course, as the wee ticker along the bottom's telling you, if you want even more shows where we go more in depth into all things Rangers, all things wrestling, all things extreme gaming, all things random, then you can join as a member now. Links are in the description, and you would be helping to support independent Rangers media at the same time. So thank you very much for that. And you can join our Discord community, which is mental. Thank you for it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Connor, right, so one day removed from the big news that Thelwell and Stewart are gone. Rumours flying about everywhere about why that may be. Is it down to Danny Rowe's traffic light system? Is it down to performances? Is there some dodgy stuff going on in the background? Connor, there's going to be many things made of the Thelwell and Stewart sackings, and we'll get more in depth into some other Rangers stuff in a minute. But what's your overall conclusion as to why this has happened when it's happened? Because the timing of it has led to some rumours that are not of the nice variety.
Yeah, listen, I don't think, and rumours are rumours, right? They won't all be true, and normally with these things, the truth tends to lie somewhere in the middle anyway. But I think, in terms of timing, I think what's probably happened is Cavan has looked at this, and he came over just about a week or two before Russell Martin get the tin tack. Clearly, he had his fingerprints all over that decision. It was clear he had pressured Thelwell and Stewart into making that choice because Thelwell and Stewart had been clear. Thelwell in particular had been clear beforehand that Russell Martin was his man and he was going nowhere. And much in the same vein Stewart had said about Philippe Clement a year ago. And I think when that's happened, the whole debacle around the managerial hunt, having Gerrard turn it down at the last minute, having Kevin Muscat turn it down again at the last minute, the whole thing looking farcical, and then eventually plumping for Danny Rule, who, ironically, the week before we appointed him, had ruled himself out of the running because he knew and felt that the club did not want him and they were wanting Kevin Muscat, so he decided, well, I'm just going to take my name out of the hat then, fine, see you later. But obviously that changed. So I think all of that has had a major impact on Cavan. I think then he's looking at it, and he'll have seen what we've seen. Yeah, we've won 4 games in a row on the pitch, but the performances have not been great at all. They've been mixed. I would say we've had 1 or 2 decent outings under Danny Rule. I think the Hibs game actually, for it being a 1-0 result, I think we performed really well to get that result. We defended well in times, and when we need to, it was probably the most rounded team performance, even though there were still kinks you could see needing ironed out. But you look at that and you think, well, he's watching all this thinking to himself, that this is more than just about this manager. If these players clearly can't perform, and who's brought these players in? Well, Thelwell in the main, and Stewart has backed him with it. And I think that's swayed it for him. I also don't think, despite what we might think about Europe and all the rest of it, that's obviously important for the new owners, because of all the competitions you play in, even with it being the Europa League, Europe's the most lucrative for them to get a return on their money. There's no doubt about that. And so they're aware that the decisions Kevin Thelwell has made and that Patrick Stewart has made has cost them money on a lot of fronts. It's cost them money on absolute dross in terms of the signings that have been made. It's costing them money in terms of there's no bonuses for games won or anything like that in Europe because we've not won any. 7 losses in a row. It looks like we're going to drop out, so there'll be no money coming in for knockout stages. But I think just across the board, Cavaniss probably took a look at the full thing and went, you know what? These guys need to go as well, and we need somebody else in here that can do a better job and better prepare us going into January and then going into next season.
Well, Cavaniss' response was things have changed from 6 months ago and we want to go in a different direction, or Thelwell and Stewart weren't going in the right direction for Rangers. But somebody's asked, now I don't really like talking about this because I've got no inside knowledge. I don't know anything. I'm just reading all the same stuff that all you guys are reading, right? And then coming on here to discuss it. But there is rumours, Connor, and I want to stress the word rumours, that there's internal investigations going on within the football club for the dealings of Kevin Thelwell, for the transfers that Kevin Thelwell has made. I'm not going to name players, but I think it's blatantly obvious who we're talking about. Would it surprise you, Connor, if that was actually the case? Because you can put 2 and 2 together and get 4 whenever you want, and you can put 2 and 2 together and get 5 and pretend it's 4 if it's going to suit your argument.
Mm-hmm.
But that would go down the route of the strange timing of these sackings.
It would. Look, it's difficult to know with rumours, right? Because rumours come and go, and some of them explode and they get big and you think, geez, well, this is happening, this must be true. And then it gets debunked quite quickly. I think there's a distinct possibility that whether it's looking at it from a corruption point of view or just the fact that they have to look into the signings anyway. They have to investigate how they got it so badly wrong. And there's no doubt about it. And I absolutely believe that if you're spending £8 million on Yusuf Chermiti, who has done the square root of hee-haw in his career, who at Everton was, £14 million Kevin Thelwell spent on him there, and again, barely kicked his own arse, played, I think, 1 game. No good enough. And then he thinks it's acceptable to hand back over £8 million to Everton. I said at the time that there was something about it that I didn't like, that had a bit of a stink to me. I said, this feels like he's went, right, I'm going to give Everton some money back here for this dud that I've signed and just spend money at this club to do it. It felt very much like there was a bit of that there. Now, that doesn't make Everton complicit in it. Be clear on that. Everton don't have to be complicit in it, because at the end of the day, if he made that decision autonomously and went, Everton, there's £8 million, he's useless Chermiti, they were never going to turn it down. And so I do think there is, whether it's that, whether it is there's a corruption, whether it's incompetence, there will be something going on in the background to look into it. Because I tell you, as Jim Cunningham said, you're right, you don't have to be Kojak or Bergerac for that matter to figure out that there's clearly something. Or Ironside, aye. Or Jessica Fletcher. You don't have to be any of these people to work out that there is clearly something rotten in the state of Denmark where that signing is concerned. The other signings you can chalk up to just incompetence, you can chalk up to inexperience, you can chalk up to underestimating the size of the club, which he said himself that he did. And by the way, surely... Allegedly, allegedly, of course. But surely, right, the comments he made in the press conference when he said he underestimated the size of Rangers, that must have set alarm bells off for Andrew Kavanagh as well. Because he's probably thinking, hold on a minute here. How have we appointed this guy and he doesn't understand the football club he's coming to? That's not to say that Andrew Kavanagh necessarily fully did himself, but he at least understood that Rangers was a big football club, that brings with it demands. So, but we'll see what comes of it. If it's true, fine. as I said, they have to look into the signings, and regardless, even if it's just from a lens of is it incompetence or is there actually something else going on?
Well, there's a question here, Connor, for Singing the Blues. Would you take Alan Burrows as CEO? I think he would be a sensible appointment. That was doing the rounds yesterday. It wasn't doing the rounds. Sorry, people were putting his name forward, I should say, on socials. There was people doing, I think the Rangers Journal done a kind of a background on him. Is that somebody who you would look at? I mean, I remember a few years ago, I can't remember her name now. It's been right off the top of my head. I think she was Motherwell CEO. Is it Leanne Dempster?
Leanne Dempster.
There was talk of Leanne Dempster coming into Rangers. Alan Burrows, I think he done a decent job at Motherwell. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know the ins and outs of Motherwell Football Club, Connor. But is that somebody who you would look at for Rangers to bring in?
Well, he was at Aberdeen as well, wasn't he? Listen, I will say about Alan Burrows is that at Motherwell he done a really good job. He really did. What he done there was he got Motherwell as a football club sort of back integrating with the community, in real proper ways that brought his fan base back together. He was there, obviously, during COVID, which was a tough period of time for every club in Scottish football, and he handled it really, really well. Motherwell as a club were roundly praised for a lot of things they done, and then when the restrictions were lifted, he made a choice that there was going to be certain fans who were going to be getting into the games for free to get people back in the door and to have that sense of community about the club. I think that's something that Rangers could do is somebody that can harmonise things and bring people together, and bring that sense of community back, and that sort of that feeling of we're all pulling in the same direction, because there's undoubtedly been a toxicity at Rangers for a number of years now. This isn't isolated to the 49ers coming in. It was toxic before that. I mean, we all wanted the Parks out, Martin. We wanted them out in their ear because they didn't give a shit. And they done certain things that made us look stupid. They went to war with the Premier League, for example, the SPL, or the SPFL, I should say, over sponsorship deals, because they, obviously, Parks run their own car business and didn't want to advertise their other car business in their stadium. And you just think, is that the best use of your time and money? Is the money people behind Rangers Football Club? No, it makes us look amateur. But as I said, even then you get rid of them and you bring in more incompetence. Patrick Stewart, of course, predates the 49ers. He came in just before they did. So again, it's nothing new. So could Alan Burrows be the man to come in and bring that unity? Well, he's done it before. So I wouldn't rule him out. He would have to be somebody that Rangers had conversations with. And it's important, and I think this is a must. I don't care what anybody says. Whoever we appoint has got to understand the landscape of Scottish football from the off. They have to get it. They have to know that Rangers is a huge club. They have to know the expectation levels that come with that. 100%. And you have to understand what the rest of Scottish football looks like and not underestimate it. Now, there are other options. Alan Burrows is one. Leanne Dempster, you've mentioned, would fit that box. Whatever happened to the guy at St Mirren that we were allegedly about to bring in the door, 2 years ago? I think he was the deputy chief executive there. And we were a ball head away for bringing him in, and then it went tits up. He decided to stay put. Is there conversations could happen there again, maybe? I don't know. But I think we need to be sensible about this.
Yeah. Oh, no, we absolutely do need to be sensible about it. But you're talking about that Scottish identity. I nearly done a volume there. Scottish identity. Chris Boyd's let rip, or Chris Boyd's had a go, I should say, at Patrick Stewart, Kevin Thelwell, etc., etc. Just a wee snippet from what he said. He said, Rangers don't seem to have Scottish players who know exactly what it means to play for the club. There has been countless Scottish players who have been available and deemed not good enough to play for Rangers. There were probably players in the academy who were getting paid more than Shankland. They've turned their nose up at him, and it's massively backfired. It's no surprise to anybody to hear Chris Boyd coming out and saying that. He's 100% right, Connor. Kevin Thelwell, as soon as he walked into Scottish football, effectively turned his nose up at it.
Oh, yeah. He ripped up the Josh Mulligan. That was, we all know when we spoke about it plenty of times in this channel, Martin. Josh Mulligan was as good as signed. He was going to be a Rangers player. That was a deal we were going to do. He came in the door and went, no, we're not having that deal, rip it up. And look what Josh Mulligan's doing now. He's playing quite well for Hibs. And you're looking going, why the fuck, excuse my language there, but why have we not signed him? And instead bringing in young boys like Freedom
and you're swearing.
Sorry, this sort of stuff just frustrates me about Kevin Thelwell. It's difficult, Martin, right, to have a conversation about Kevin Thelwell and his failings without swearing. I don't know if you realise that. But, you know, silliness. And then obviously there was the rumour going about as well that he wanted to get the Lyle Cameron deal off the table, which is just madness. Look, has Cameron done enough since he came in? No, I don't think he has. But has he been given enough of an opportunity? Again, no, he's not. So he is a young Scottish player. I'm sure we'll start to, you know, as time goes on, we'll see the best of Lyle Cameron yet. I'm 100% certain of that, because the boy's got ability. I don't think there's any doubt. But that snobbery, though, let's be clear about it. It doesn't just start with Kevin Thelwell. You look at Shanklin, right? This boy's right. We can't lay that all Kevin Thelwell's, though, because we should have signed Shanklin long before Kevin Thelwell became a blip on the radar of this club. We had opportunities over the last couple of years. Last season, for example, the start of that season in the summer, Lawrence Shanklin, so apologies to your 9-year-old there, Timmy, but you know, Lawrence Shanklin was somebody we could have brought in at that point. He thought he was going to come to Rangers. He was literally saying to Rangers, come and get me, make the offer. He down tools at Hearts because he wanted to get the move, and we just went, no, we'll just not bother with that one. What? Like, really? That's mad. And then in January there, he still hadn't signed a contract with Hearts. So you could have got him for nothing. Literally nothing. You could have signed him in a pre-contract, as they did with Lyle Cameron, and bring him in the door. You know, and he'd have been a part of our team right now. Unfortunately, we've sort of shafted ourselves with. But again, it goes further back, you know. Or Lennon Miller was another one I know you were keen on. Why didn't we look at it? Because what I can forgive, Martin, see if you make an approach and, you know, you get told you need to spend a ridiculous amount of money and you just can't, you know, really justify it. That's one thing, and that's understandable. At least you can put a check in the box and say, we did try. Mm-hmm. Not once did we have a conversation. Not once was the phone picked up to Hearts to sound them out about, right, we're interested in Lawrence Shanklin. What kind of, here's what we'd be looking to spend. Where are you at with it? None of that happened. None of that happened with Motherwell either. I just don't get it. I really, really don't. It is the snobbery of the highest degree. And by the way, I will say that's not just on the board, because some of your fan base need to have a word with himself about that. Because every time these players are mentioned, Martin, you have the fan base going, no, they're not good enough to win it anywhere near the cup. Lawrence Shanklin, they can't have him. You know, so you need to get that out of the fans as well.
I wasn't all on board the Lawrence Shanklin train. And I wasn't also all on board the Lewis Ferguson train either. And I think it's fair to say that both of them, if I had my time over again, knowing what I know now, know what we brought in instead of they two, then absolutely, yeah, I would have been all aboard the Lewis Ferguson and Lawrence Shanklin trains. Absolutely.
I don't know. Did you hear that, Martin? Did we ask Motherwell and lowball them? In which case, that makes us look even more foolish, in my opinion. That's like that. What that is, if we have done that, right? Do you know what that is? That is us not learning for the mistakes that Celtic made with John McGinn.
Yeah,
that's playing funny buggers. Go and spend the money. You've got it there. Celtic lost out on John McGinn for the sake of 500 grand, which they could have spent. That's how silly. So if we've done the same with Lennon Miller, then I mean, dear me, that's awful.
I am trying, Connor, not to talk about Lennon Miller, because I get moaned at when I talk about Lennon Miller. So I'm trying to keep my powder dry on that. He's gone. The boy's gone. He's never coming back. So there's nothing that we can really do about that. Now, interestingly, in fact, before I come on to that, Connor, I will say that Rangers under-19s were playing St Mirren the other night at the Rangers Training Centre. Lost 4-2. First home league defeat of the season for the under-19s. And this takes us, I think, into more of a conversation about, which is something that we spoke about on the women's show last night, which is live every Monday at 6:30 right here on the Rangers Rabble YouTube channel. about the kind of availability for us to be able to see these games. There is pretty much none, and this actually ties into the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is a tweet that Rangers have put out that I'm going to bring up in a minute. But I was talking about the services that RTV offer, and how most people are effectively signed up to it but never use it. Basically, people are just signing up to help support the club. Should there be more access for us to be able to watch the likes of the under-19s, the under-17s, the women's teams, and should the content on RTV be better than what it currently is?
100%, yeah. No question about it, because firstly, right, you know better than me, having been to the academy games with Willie Irvine, it's not even easy to attend these games in person either. There's a whole process you've got to go through, forms that need filling out and permissions you need. It's ridiculous, right? For a start, see if you're not going to show it on RTV, you're not going to show it on the telly, at least let people quite easily buy a ticket and come in and see it. You know, I can't think logically why you wouldn't. But RTV should offer it. Why not put it on the YouTube channel? That's what I don't get. And it's not like Rangers don't have the resources available to them and the means and the money to do it. They do. Get it on your YouTube channel. And do you know what else you could do with that, which I think would be great, because somebody's mentioned about the RTV commentator, Tom Miller. Do you know what you could do, right? Would be a good idea. See if you started showing the academy games on the YouTube channel. Bring in a young up-and-coming commentator, Scottish commentator, as a Rangers fan. Let them do the commentary on the academy games. Like Martin Douglas. Let them do the commentary on the academy games, and guess what you can then do? You can then build for the future and go, well, I'll tell you what, not only are these academy players grown to become first-team players, that commentator, if he gets better, can get an opportunity to sit alongside Tom Miller and then potentially replace him. To me, it's all about forward thinking and planning ahead for the future. You've got to modernise, exactly as the word I was about to use. You have to. Tom Miller. Now, I don't have the same hatred for Tom Miller as other people do, right? No. I have a lot of respect and a lot of time for Tom Miller, because he's been a loyal servant to the club for many, many years. He has been the voice of RTV for as long as I can remember. I mean, geez, they brought in Clive Tildesley for a period of time, and they sort of switched between the two, and he was still there. He could have easily took the huff and went. He didn't. So you've got to respect him for his commitment. I don't think he's the best commentator in the world. I don't think it's cutting edge stuff. And there is better out there that you can go and get, whether that's younger people or, go and try and pick up other guys. Do you know what? Other football clubs will bring in mainstream commentators. Aberdeen use Rob McLean. Don't get Rob McLean, but I'm just saying they do. Quite often Celtic get people in the door. Peter Martin and all that's been in. Any reason why Rangers couldn't really push a boat out and go, Rory Hamilton, you're not doing it on a Saturday at 3 o'clock. Rory
Hamilton's a Celtic TV commentator as well, is he not?
No, he's done it like once or twice. He doesn't do it so much now. And he's the best commentator in Scotland. He's not, by the way, a Celtic or Rangers fan. He'll just go whoever wants to pay him money, which I can't argue with. But, it's something like that I think would be better. But certainly on the academy thing, if you're not going to do that, then I build it all up for the root and branch all the way up at all aspects of the club. Get a young media team in to cover it, giving them experience as well, not just your commentator, but a young interviewer who can go and do the conversations and interviews with the players and host the game. It just makes all the sense in the world. And by the way, you can say the same for the women's game. I absolutely think they could do so much better with the women's stuff as well.
Yeah, no, they absolutely could. And the reasons that they gave for not showing it are, in my opinion, ridiculous, lazy, and they're just looking for the cheap option, to be brutally honest with you. Now, the reason that I brought that up is that Rangers have put out a tweet corner. We have begun a wide-ranging feasibility study that will help shape the future of Ibrox and identify immediate ways to improve the match day experience for supporters. We could be here for a while. The work is designed to give the club a clear understanding of what is possible across the full stadium campus in the years ahead. Apologies for my English. The study will look closely at the stadium's current setup, overall infrastructure, as well as assessing capacity needs and options for future expansion. It will also explore how we can improve match day life for fans, from bar and social spaces to general facilities across the stadium and surrounding areas. An awful lot to unpack there, Connor. This has been needed for a while. The match day experience at Ibrox is not great. It is not great. All right, they've built New Edmiston House. It's not big enough for
Nowhere
match
near it.
days. It's nowhere near big enough for match days. And the match day experience inside the stadium for me is not great. I always compare it to, and I know that I've spoken about this a few times, and apologies, when I went to Dortmund and when we played Borussia Dortmund in the Europa League. See the actual match day experience there. So much, and it wasn't fantastic, by the way, but it was so much better than what we have. So much better than what we have. There was loads of space. You could walk about. All right, it was during COVID, right? But you could walk about. There was bars inside the stadium. There was restaurants inside the stadium. You could have a cigarette if you were a smoker. There was bits you could go and do that. The whole atmosphere around the supporters inside that stadium was so much better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And listen, there is obviously a restaurant bar in Ibrox. You've got Ramsay's and all the rest of it.
Yeah, but that's hospitality, Connor.
Yeah, but that's what I was about to say, though. You've got that if you want to pay an absolute fortune for the privilege, because it costs you, I think, at the very cheapest, it costs you about £500, £400 at the cheapest level, which is ridiculous. And I think I agree. New Edmiston House, having been in it a number of times over the piece with Alex and the rest of it, it isn't big enough. I mean, look, I will say, see as a venue for hosting things, it's quite good. When we went to the Heart and Hand night, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it had everything spread out nicely. They had the good tables sitting out. We managed to get one at the back. But again, you had to get in early enough to make sure you're going to get a seat, because there's not enough seating. Even on an occasion like that, there was standing room. So that in itself is problematic. You see, when you go to the games and everybody's there and they're piled in, you're squeezed in there like sardines when it really starts to fill up. And trying to get to the bar is a nightmare. So it's not the best experience. And then I think the Big Phil says it right. The club deck's a great shout that needs fixing, because I sit, usually when I go to Ibrox, I tend to sit in the club deck. Normally because I usually get a ticket for Wilf. And that tends to be where that is. One of the things I don't like about the club deck, and Wilf will know it a lot better than me because he's there every week, there's not enough space in the club deck. Can I just say, see when you're sat there, it's not comfortable at all, because the fucking seat in front of you, it's literally, you're talking about that gap between your leg and the seat in front of you. It's so tight. Now, I get it. Obviously, they've packed in a lot of, capacity and get as many seats in, but you need a bit of space and a bit of creating experience. Because see, when people are spending the money they spend, £33 is not cheap to go and watch a game of football. It really, really isn't. So you expect better, and I hope that some of the proposals being made do exactly that. And it's just even wandering about and stuff like that. They can absolutely make it so much better. They really can.
They absolutely could, Connor. They absolutely could. And they're talking about expansion as well, which I think Ibrox needs. And some of those things might be fixed in terms of spaces for seats might be fixed.
That's an aspect in which the club has been behind Celtic in for a long time, actually. And I hate saying it, but it's true. The experience for fans in terms of Celtic Park, it's far more modern than us. And the reason for that is because the Celtic Park, or the Parkhead, that we know now, was only built in the 90s. Fergus McCann built that in the late 90s. So that's why that's more modern. Our stadium, whilst it's had tweaks and it's had renovations done over the piece, Ibrox itself and the modern version of Ibrox really was sort of the 80s, kind of, when it got modernised after the Ibrox disaster in 71, and they got all seating and that, and then they've modernised a bit since then. But the last proper renovation to change it all up was in the 80s. That's, you're gone 40 years now. You know what I mean? That does need just changing a bit. Nobody's saying reinvent the wheel here, because we all love our stadium and the history that it represents. Nobody disputes that. Walking, especially when you're at the main stand and you walk in the main doors and the marble staircase and all that, it is a fabulous site. It's fantastic. It really is. And I would still recommend anybody go for a tour of the ground, because it's a beautiful big ground, but it needs desperately to be modernised. It needs a bit of expansion done on it just to bring us up. Do you know what I mean? We don't even have the same capacity they've got across the city either. They can get more in than we can, which, again, the demand for season tickets, Martin, there's waiting lists as long as your arm. Go and,
which is why they'll be looking into expansion, to be fair. And I've no doubt they'll probably start that sooner rather than later. But if you get yourself over to the Rangers official Twitter page, I think it's actually the last tweet they put out, and there's a feasibility study there if you want to go and fill that in. And let the club know all your thoughts and feelings. I'll certainly be doing it. I've no doubt Connor will be doing it. So head over to the Rangers Twitter page, get that filled in, and like I say, fill in that feasibility study. Right, folks, that is us for today. Please, like I say, please make sure and give the show a like if you enjoy it. And see if you don't enjoy it, right, and you don't like me, which I completely understand, right? I get it. Hit the like button anyway, and make sure that you are subscribed. I think it's something like 64% of people who watch the show don't subscribe but consistently watch, so you may as well just subscribe anyway. And of course, if you enjoy the content and you want to see more, we're live at 7:00 tonight over on the Rabble Network. That's the membership channel on YouTube and Patreon. Then click that link, and for as little as $1.99 a month, you can get access to at least 10 extra shows a week. And I say at least because it's more, and I can't remember how many it is, but it's loads. Connor, mate, thank you very much.
Aye, no problem at all. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just want to clarify for the avoidance of doubt. Obviously, our stadium is better than Parkhead. Let's not kid ourselves. Right, I love our ground. I don't like Parkhead. I need to make that clear. I'm just saying, and you're right. They do cover a lot of the cracks with their banners and all the,
our main stand. Our main stand is the most beautiful main stand in the world.
No, 100%. It's not even a competition, right? Let's just get that absolutely clear. I was just pointing out that their match day experience is more modern because they've developed it more recently. Not, our ground and our main stand. Find me a better main stand in Britain, and I'll find you a liar. Quite frankly.
Yes, 100%. And can I just reply to Anderson here? Ian T's phoned in sick for the night, so Callum's hosting the 7 p.m. show.
So is it not going to be called Thompson Tuesdays in there that Callum's hosting it?
It will still be called Thompson's Tuesdays, unfortunately, because legally I can't change the name now. But it will be Thompson Tuesdays, but taken over by Callum for one night. And there's going to be a debut on it tonight as well. So there we go. Right, folks, thank you very, very much for tuning in. Like I say, anything that you can do to help support the channel is greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching. And I forgot to put the outro in again. I always do this. It's so unprofessional. So unprofessional. Thank you for watching, folks, and we shall speak very, very soon.